Hey Growing Zone kids, it's Pastor Jason. Let's go over another couple questions from the New City Catechism. Today we're on question number 8. And question number 8 is this. What is the law of God stated in the 10 Commandments? And the answer is this. Number 1, you shall have no other gods before me. Number 2, you shall not make for yourself an idol. Number 3, never misuse the name of the Lord your God. Number 4, remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Number 5, honor your mother and your father. Number 6, don't murder. Number 7, don't commit adultery. Number 8, don't steal. Number 9, don't lie. And number 10, don't be jealous or don't covet anything. So these are God's 10 commandments. But why do we need rules? Why do we need laws? I know sometimes, and I think you're probably like this too, sometimes I don't like rules. But you know what? Rules are actually good for us. Think about it. If there were no rules and anybody could do just whatever they wanted, it would be a disaster. It would be chaos, right? If there were no rules or laws against stealing, then someone could just take all of your stuff. How would that make you feel? It wouldn't make me feel very good. And so don't you see that laws and rules are actually good for us? So God gives us these rules as Christians, as His people. He gives us these rules to show us how to live. They show us how to worship God and how to love God, and they show us how to love other people. Some of these laws show us how to love God and worship God, right? The first law is have no other gods except for God. And this is a good rule for us because nobody is as wonderful as God. Nobody is as amazing and as exciting and as satisfying as God. And so when God says don't have any other gods, what He's saying is don't put anybody as more important than me. Nothing in all of our lives should be more important than God because nothing is as wonderful as God. So don't you see that even that first one and these other laws that show us how to worship God are good for us because it makes sure that we remember that God should be the most important thing in our lives. And some of these laws show us how to love other people. Don't kill anybody, don't lie, don't steal, don't want what other people have. These are all really good things because if we think about it, we wouldn't want anybody to take the stuff that we have. We wouldn't want anybody to lie to us. And so if we don't lie to other people, that's showing love and care for them. So these commandments that God gives us are actually good commandments, and it's good for us to follow them. See, these laws also show us who God is. That's called His character. Since these laws came from God, they show us a little bit about how God acts and what He does and how He is. And we've got a word for that. It's called His holiness. These laws show us that God is holy. God never breaks any of these laws, but He is perfect. He never does anything mean. He never does anything hurtful. He never does anything to break His own law. God is perfect. And again, that's what we call God's holiness. So let's skip down to question number 13. And question number 13 is this. Can anyone keep the law of God perfectly? And the answer is, since the fall, no human has been able to keep the law of God perfectly. Remember when I just said that these 10 commandments show us that God is holy and that He never breaks any of His own laws? Well, this question teaches us that we're not holy. God is, but we're not. God is perfectly able to keep His commands, but you and I, we're not. We break God's commands all the time. In fact, since Adam and Eve, since they sinned against God in the Garden of Eden at the very beginning of creation, since they sinned, every human being in all of creation, in all of history, has also sinned against God by breaking His laws and not following them. I like to think about it like this. Let's think about God's law as a target, and we are archers, like people who shoot bows and arrows. God's law is like a target, and we have to hit that target perfectly every single time. But it's not that easy. You see, now let's think of God's law as a target that's only this small as a quarter. That's like that big. And not only that, but it's very, very far away. Not only that, but you're blindfolded. And not only that, but maybe you spin around 10 times. You see, that would be an impossible shot to make. And now imagine that every minute of every day you have to make that shot over and over and over again and hit that target every single time. Yeah, you're not going to be able to do it. No one could do that. We're going to learn next week that sin makes that impossible. Sin makes it so that we are not able to perfectly obey God. But what we should know this week, what we need to understand is that God is holy and He can make that target because it's His law, but you and I can't. And that's why Jesus is so important, because Jesus is able to hit that target. Jesus lived a perfect life and He never broke any of God's laws. And by believing in Jesus, Jesus' obedience, Jesus' perfect target practice is given to us. It's like Jesus taking that shot for you and hitting every single time. See, even though you and I aren't holy, Jesus is holy. And if we believe in him, we get his holiness. I'm so glad that Jesus makes that shot for me every time. Now that is good news.